Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World Daily with me, John Jordan. So the interesting snippet of news, the rumour mill, I guess we have to say, today is that Sorare is doing a new fundraise. That's the rumour at least. So here I am just Googling it. So we have a few different websites that have sort of covered this, and it's all it's all kind of filed under rumour. But obviously the rumour is in some ways sufficient enough for decent publications to be running this sort of stuff. So we can see here that what people are suggesting is that Sorare is looking to raise some more money. It already raised $50 million a few months ago. So it's kind of interesting when companies raise fairly large sums and then they go back very quickly and raise more. That sort of suggests that the space that they're in is super hot and there is a lot of interest from investors. Not so much that the companies kind of want to raise that extra money or need to raise that extra money, but just investors are so desperate to give them the money that they kind of decide they're going to take it. So let's try and put this into some context. So the sources are suggesting here Sorare is raising a sort of a 500 million. It's going to raise about $500 million. So 10 times more than it raised a few months ago. It's $50 million raise. And the important things about kind of VC funding raises is not so much what you raise. I mean, that's sort of obviously kind of important, but what valuation are you raising that at? So sort of how much equity you're giving away, what percentage of your shares you're giving away, and how much do the investors think your company is worth now or actually going to be worth in the future. So we can see here Sorare is, if it raises this amount of money, it could raise more, could raise less, but the valuation it's raising is $3.7 billion, which is looking like 3 billion euros. So Sorare is based in, they're a French company, so their currency would be euros, and people are converting this to dollars because that's generally what investors talk about. So we can see here, down here, this little one, this story here. So Sorare raised $50 million back in February. So that is actually kind of, what are we, March, April, May. So kind of just over 3 months ago they raised 50 million. So they clearly don't need the money in terms of they haven't spent the 50 million to need the 500 million, but they're doing it because they can. So let's try and put some context around this. So here we have a little graph that I did a while back, and we can see here this actually goes back to 2017, and this is looking at some of the blockchain games companies and how much money they raised. So just the color code here is the red ones are companies raising money from ICOs. So this is back in 2017, 2018. Companies were raising kind of $50 million from ICO token sales. You can see not much happens really in 2018, 2019, 2020. There's a few raises. It's not like there's nothing happening, but no sort of big amounts. So we have some big ICOs back here, 2017, a bit of 2018, and then in 2021 here we have these big raises happening. So these blue ones are money from traditional VC companies. So traditional VC companies are companies who are not particularly into crypto per se. They're just into investing into new companies, whether that's sort of games companies or social tech companies, or maybe they invest in kind of hardware companies or things like Tesla or whatever the kind of hot thing is. VC companies always try and be ahead of the curve. And we can see here, so this is February, Sorare raised its 50 million, so that's this one here. And we can see there's been a whole bunch of big raises since then. So Dapper Labs raised just over $305 million in March. Animoca Brands, back in fairly recently in May, raised $88.888 million. So obviously these are all blockchain games companies. Dapper Labs a bit different. It actually is creating and running its own blockchain. So a bit not specifically games. Whereas Sorare is a game developer, and Animoca Brands develops games. And then Forte raised 108 $85 million a couple of weeks ago. And Forte is a sort of a kind of tools and technology company for helping game developers to make blockchain games. So we can kind of see this is stuff that's been officially announced. So if Sorare was going to raise $500 million, we can see here the graph would have to be kind of re-indexed because Sorare will be sort of up here somewhere. So it's definitely a large amount of money. If anything, if what Sorare is raising is anything like what's being rumored, then that would be. I mean, that would probably be the largest raise by any games company ever that I can imagine. And Sorare is a pretty small games company, so it's been going for a few years. It's a soccer management game where you buy players' cards and you put together a team. You have to have 5 players in your team, and then you put them into tournaments. And the players have underlying stats, and also the stats when they actually play a physical game are also reflected in their performance in the Sorare game. So it's like a fantasy football game with blockchain elements, and all the cards are blockchain NFTs that you can trade. So $500 million would be enormous. And we can go back here actually to Dapper Labs. So Dapper Labs, as I said, raised $305 million from a whole bunch of people, and that valuation was $2.6 billion. So it's 305 million at 2.6 billion. This valuation, rumor, we don't know if it's true, is $500 million at 3.7 billion. So Dapper Labs is kind of interesting because Dapper Labs runs the Flow blockchain and the NBA Top Shot DApp, which has done $700 million of trading value. Has a market cap of actually something like that, $700 million. One point was closer to $2 billion. It's running the Flow blockchain that has a market cap of, I think, the tokens at the moment about 1.5 billion. Has loads of games being developed on the Flow blockchain. So Dapper Labs, you might argue these are sort of high valuations, but Dapper Labs owns its own blockchain. Dapper Labs sort of could be seen as the equivalent of the Ethereum Foundation. It's currently valued at 2.6 billion. So Sorare, making at the moment one game on Ethereum, to be valued at this amount of money is really quite a serious valuation. I mean, this is we can't pretend this is just sort of a sort of speculative kind of situation. If anything like this is correct, let's click on this. This is a really sort of serious amount of money. I'm not going to subscribe to this. I don't know why I clicked on that. That's a bit silly. This just goes to show that I think what's going on in the blockchain game space. There are serious companies. So SoftBank is one of the biggest global VC companies. Actually had a really good year last year, a really terrible year before that because they did a lot of investments into WeWork, which obviously was a bit of a disaster. But SoftBank, Japanese based, has billions and billions of dollars to invest. I think it made about $4 billion in profit last year. So it has a lot of money to invest, and it's very aggressive about moving into new areas. So the fact that it is kind of SoftBank are said to be involved makes me sort of think these sort of numbers, they may not be exactly correct, but they probably are reasonably good. So the other interesting thing to say here with Dapper Labs, which has done the big funding round, there is also a rumor that Dapper Labs is itself also doing another funding round. So we may have this interesting situation where two sort of already fairly well-funded blockchain games companies that have just in the last couple of months raised fairly significant sums of money are both of them going back and raising more. And if that is the case for either of those, certainly if it's the case with both of those, it just highlights that blockchain games is really come of age. And even if these things don't come out, and these rumors are somehow kind of Chinese whispers, and then somehow being misconnected, it still suggests that for these VCs who talk all the time about money and where to put their money and where's the best investment, they're thinking very, very seriously about blockchain games now. And the amount of money that's coming into here is fairly large. I would say getting to the point of being staggering on a historical basis. And certainly if Sorare is raising $500 million, Dapper Labs is rumoured is similarly looking at about $500 million. Very, very few companies at the kind of life cycle of these very new startups. I mean, Dapper Labs has only been going for 3 years, Sorare a couple of years. Companies do not raise that amount of money from VCs unless they're doing complicated hardware or sort of SpaceX sort of sending people to Mars. For software companies to be raising that just really suggests that VCs think blockchain games are really going to come in and create this $1 trillion kind of industry that some of us have been saying for a while. Not to say that that's true, but there is some sort of validation going in there. So anyway, this is a slightly speculative sort of video. It's slightly rambling. I do personally, I quite like Sorare. I sort of play it, but I do think it would be personally. I find it hard to have a €3 billion valuation of Sorare at the moment. It's had about $50 million of lifetime trading value. Obviously, they get a percentage of that. So to then value that at $3 billion would suggest that they're going to scale and be sort of the next FIFA, which obviously is a potentially could be, but I'm not quite sure what percentage I would put on that. Dapper Labs, I kind of think personally, is a bit more interesting because they're running their own blockchain, so they're not relying on one game. Sorare is one game, a soccer-based kind of football management game, which has a certain amount of appeal. Football's global, obviously. Millions of people play it, and FIFA, enormously profitable, successful game. But a successful blockchain is you could definitely say is worth tens of billions. Not many games in the world are worth tens of billions of dollars. So we will see. Anyway, so this was sort of speculative end to the week. Good luck to them. I personally hope both Dapper Labs and Sorare can raise these eye-watering amounts of money. That's good for the entire sector. Because it means other blockchain games companies will also be able to raise the 5 and 10 kind of millions of dollars that they require to complete their products. So we will see. Anyway, thanks for watching. This is Blockchain Gaming World, where we spend our time looking at what's going on in the world, and very interested in how investors really have switched on to blockchain games in 2021. There's lots of money flowing in. It doesn't always have to be these very large amounts, but clearly investors are now very switched on to blockchain, so that's good to see. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and see you again soon.